When you're ready.
There is a distinct negative stigma associated with the word assimilation that relates to the loss of one's heritage and culture. While this can be true, assimilation also has positive effects that can lead immigrants to financial and social success. Because of these positive and negative implications, it is important to address the question of whether the pressure to assimilate is helpful or harmful to immigrant success in America. According to Karen Stote, assimilation can be described as a process whereby an individual or group is incorporated into a dominant group of a nation such that whatever differences existed between these two is no longer clearly identifiable. Many Americans would argue that this is a good thing, as it will help the transition to a new culture work much more smoothly, while others argue that America was built on diversity and that cultural differences should be celebrated. To explore this question, I looked at the artifact, The Cultural Evolutionary Trade-Off of Ritualistic Synchrony, which presented many interesting points on the benefits of having a more synchronized society. Ritualistic synchrony, in some shape or form, has been a consistent part of society for centuries, which suggests that it has some type of societal benefit that has kept it relevant for so long. To find this benefit, social scientists conducted many studies that sought to find the effects of synchronous activity. To do this, the scientists split the participants of the studies into two groups. In group one, participants moved, danced, or chanted in synchrony, and in group two, participants would engage in the same activity with no explicit synchrony. These studies found that participants in group one saw increased cooperation and were much more likely to make decisions that benefited the group rather than just them as an individual. Furthermore, similar research concluded that synchronized subjects were more likely to put effort into collective tasks and were more prone to helping a co-participant in a moral dispute. The largest benefit, though, was an overall increase in group bonds between participants. The US military has accepted this idea thoroughly. By drumming, marching, and doing drills in complete unison, not only do they increase bonds between soldiers, but also make themselves look more threatening to opposing armies. It is easy to note the pro-social impacts that cultural synchronization brings to a group of people, and it is likely that these benefits could extend to immigrants adjusting to American culture. When it comes to cultural synchrony of a whole country, it is less about doing things in exact unison, but rather having a few national commonalities that allow for communication and success. The most basic and arguably most important one of these commonalities is speaking the same language. Studies have shown that non-English speaking immigrants who learn English are not only more likely to be accepted by American citizens, but are also more likely to receive higher paying jobs than those who do not learn to speak English. In addition, immigrants who embrace American culture have noticed lowered barriers in communication with fellow Americans, giving them a distinct social advantage. These positive effects of synchrony and communication can help an immigrant feel more at home in America and make the transition much smoother. Despite numerous positive effects that cultural synchrony can have, it can be equally detrimental to a group of people if not practiced properly. Some of the negative effects that can result from synchrony include increased conformity, decreased creativity, and even can cause a mob mentality. One experiment intended to isolate the effect of synchrony on creativity. In one experiment intended to isolate the effect of synchrony on creativity, subjects were divided into two groups and instructed to walk for 7 to 8 minutes around a college campus, either in step or at their own pace. After their walk was done, participants of the experiment were tasked with the assignment of writing a collaborative essay as a group. The essay was later scored using a software program that assessed the creativity and complexity of the stories. Just as the researchers hypothesized, synchrony resulted in a noticeable decrease in the creativity of these stories, as their stories involved more traditional characters and more generic plot lines. Through the lens of American society, this decrease in creativity, along with the less willingness to share a minority point of view that comes with synchrony, could hurt the United States socially and politically. There's also a very important emotional factor that goes along with assimilation. As many immigrants experience an intense internal struggle about abandoning their heritage, even if it can help them become successful. This internal struggle is a theme heavily present in the book The Namesake, as we see the main character Gogol struggle to find the balance between assimilation and maintaining the Bengali culture he was raised in. Gogol is a second-generation immigrant that is intent on fitting in with his peers and feels that changing his name to something more American-sounding will help him accomplish this goal. Though Gogol's parents try to expose him to Bengali culture through music and speaking the language in the household, Gogol makes few attempts to reciprocate their effort and responds to his father's Bengali with English. Gogol even goes so far as to ask his father's permission to legally change his name. Although his father is disappointed, his response to this request was, "In America, anything is possible. Do as you wish." This quote in itself encapsulates some of the emotion that an immigrant may feel when letting go of a part of their culture, and can help us understand why that can be so hard. In conclusion, the negative effects and emotional hardship caused by assimilation suggest that complete assimilation is not the best solution for the well-being of immigrants and the country. Instead, I propose the idea of acculturation, or a cultural change that stems from the balancing of two cultures. This would allow immigrants to maintain traditions from their heritage while simultaneously absorbing American culture. By continuing to practice their own culture, immigrants can not only stay in touch with their homeland, but also add diversity to their new nation. Through acculturation, immigrants can avoid the negative effects of assimilation while still enjoying the positive.
What evidence did you gather you didn't include, and why did you choose not to include it?
Yeah, so some of the stuff I didn't include were personal experiences from actual immigrants that came to America. And I didn't include this because I was trying to do more of a data-focused presentation with more scientific facts. And I thought that the namesake covered the emotional, sentimental piece of that.
Okay, thank you. What are the implications of your findings to the community?
Yeah, so this issue is one experienced by many real people living in our country today. It can affect their lives on an emotional, financial, and social level. And so for our community, it affects the diversity of outlooks and opinions in a community, which can be very important when it comes to problem solving.
Okay, thank you. Another round of applause.